Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I had brunch a while back and the food looked really good, so I thought it would be fun to paint it. And we can do a fun paint session together. I'm going to be using my jelly gouache. I think I'm going to start with a rough sketch first, just to know where everything is. And I feel like, I don't know, I think it's gonna be kind of hard to get all the details. And this is definitely my first time painting food with gouache. I'm gonna start with watercolor wash. So I started with a watercolor wash to give the spread an undertone and also to kind of get over my fear of the white page. I didn't really know where to start for this page, so I figured going in with some color will help me get inspired. So after that, I thought the simplest thing to start with would be the plates and the parchment paper because I knew there would be some sort of gray color. But in hindsight, I feel like it would have made more sense to start with a wooden board first because it had more texture. But anyways, what I did was I mixed a bit of indigo and burnt umber with white, and that's what I used to paint the plates as well as the parchment paper. And I just blocked in the highlights and the shadows by either adding more white or more indigo and burnt umber. The next color mix that I used was burnt sienna, burnt umber, and some white. And I used that to paint the bread at the top left corner of the page, as well as the base of the wooden board. I think I also used that mix to paint the coffee and the plates later on in the video. After I finished painting the base of the wooden board and I let it dry, I added a bit more burnt umber to my color mix and I started to do the details of the wood. And this was my favorite part of the entire spread. It was really fun to make and it also turned out really pretty. And after I added these lines, I lightened the left side of the board and I added a bit more shadows behind the plates, which I feel added more interest and dimension to the spread. At this point, I started to think it might turn out good. I incorporated yellow in the lighter areas of the brown stuff, like the bread and the board, alongside white, because I wanted to make sure the lighter areas still look vibrant and not like dull, because I feel like usually when you use just white, it ends up looking a bit dull. And as you can see here, my technique was just basically to put down the color and then try to blend it out with a clean wet brush. Now, when it came to painting the stuff that's in the little plates on the board, my painting process was kind of all over the place, as you will see. I really struggled to convey what these foods are, especially the white things, like the two different types of cheese. I didn't really know what colors to use because whenever I use white, it just looks weird, and then I add a bit of yellow to it, and it looks too yellow. I didn't know what to do exactly, but I just kind of fiddled with it, and yeah, that was kind of my approach, is just try to make it work. And again, I used the same technique. I would paint the base, let it dry, and go over it with more detail. And I also tried to maximize the color mixes that I made. So if I mixed the green, for example, I would go ahead and use it in all the areas that need green. And that's why you'll see me kind of moving from one spot to the other. I didn't really stick to one plate. And by the way, guys, the majority, if not all of this video is sped up to an extent. Even the clips that don't look like they are sped up, they are. Just because like the footage for this was huge, it took me so long to paint this. But I didn't want it to be too boring, so I tried to make it as short as possible. But yeah, I'm definitely not as stable as I look or fast as I look because this is definitely a sped up footage. And as you can see on the plates on the side here, there's really not that much detail going on. I just put down blobs of color to kind of suggest what the food is. And there's like a couple of reasons for that. The first one is that I just simply don't know how to paint these foods because they're not very structured foods. But also, I don't know, I wanted to kind of practice that skill where you can like suggest what something is without actually going in with exact details. Alright, you guys, it is the next day. I stopped working on it yesterday because I was feeling like it did not look that good. And I was kind of struggling with a lot of the things I was painting because it was mostly white, like the plates were white. And this is, for example, like cream cheese in a white bowl. I was struggling to kind of show that. Right now, I'm going to stop with the gouache and I'm going to go in with pencil colors to help fix the details up a little. The pencil colors helped a lot with bringing everything together and making those really sharp, tight lines. And I also used them to outline the objects in the spread, like the plates, the cup, and for the shadows as well. In this close-up too, you can kind of see what I was talking about earlier about, there not being a lot of detail. It's just like blobs of color. Um, I don't know, I kind of like that. I think it's pretty neat. And since I really liked the blue-green undertone in the background, I leaned into that when I was coloring in the shadows. So I used the turquoise with the gray, and I kind of like that subtle pop of color. I used an acrylic marker and a white pen for the highlights and some like really bright whites. Since we're nearing the end of the video, I realized that I haven't explained what most of these foods are, but I figured I will not. I will let you guys guess instead, and feel free to write them down in the comments below. Alright, you guys, I think I'm gonna leave it there. This is the final result. I like the overall layout and I like this wooden board in the back, but painting the food was definitely a big challenge. I was gonna give up halfway through. I think also like the subject matter is not easy in general, especially not for a first time. Yeah, and I also skipped like the cucumbers and tomatoes here because I felt like I really liked the board and I didn't want to cover it up. But yeah, overall, it was a fun experience. Definitely need to practice more. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and found it inspiring. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!